Estate Show on WGBF-AM with your host, Charlie Butler. This is where you'll learn to sell your home quickly and for more money. And now, the host of the Real Estate Show, the guy who guarantees to sell your home or he'll buy it himself, Charlie Butler.
Good Sunday morning, Tri-State. This is the Real Estate Show with Charlie Butler. And to my right here, pushing buttons, the lovely Leslie Morgan.
Push, 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 push.
How are you?
Pushing your buttons.
You do that in many different ways. You know, it's. How are you this morning, Leslie?
I'm doing well. Doing well. I have no complaints.
You're completely recovered now?
I'm completely recovered. Well, I mean, as much as I normally am.
Yeah.
Mentally, I'm about 30%.
Physically, you're completely recovered.
Oh, physically, yeah.
So before KDQ, you were in Jackson, right? Jackson,
yes,
Tennessee? Okay.
Jackson, Tennessee.
I was thinking about this the other day. I'm always thinking ways to try to get you. Okay, so it's okay. Now,
I didn't spend a lot of time there. I was only there for almost a year when I got called back to KDQ because I'd worked at KDQ part-time before that. And then my first full-time radio gig was Jackson.
But with technology today, this question is not for the reason not for today because I understand technology today. You don't get to pick as much music as you used to get to pick as an on-air personality. No,
obviously, when you think back about like when people were actually spinning records,
yeah,
you know, the record had to be.
I was in the business. I
wasn't going to say that, but when the records would be sent to the station, and they were records that the record label sent to you, then it became a thing where all of the music was on our computer. So we would get emails with the music to be able to download that into the system in order to play. Because there's just so much now. It's not like before when you had, a handful of artists and that's what you get delivered to your station.
And my question was actually going a completely different direction, as you could probably imagine.
Really?
Yes. So my question was, okay, of course, you admit that. Did you remember the disc jockeys they were called back then? When I was in the business, they were what WKRP was like. As you know, they hard drinkers, hard partiers. So many times they would need to take a short break in the morning. And so they wouldn't. So they had, if they were adult contemporary, they had American Pie. Sometimes a long version of American Pie. I've seen that also. And you could be driving to your own station. You hear your morning guy and put on the long version of American Pie. Oh God, he had a rough night.
That's funny.
Or I'm riding my wife one day, and we're going someplace, and they put Freebird on, and I said, "Guys, gotta go to the bathroom." She said, "What?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Usually when you hear Freebird, Stairway to Heaven, or American Pie, this jockey's going to the bathroom." So here was my question. In country, what was that song?
Well, since I have been in the business, that's not an issue because everything's on the computer. So you don't have to play a record and then have the other record ready. I mean, really, our job is very simple now. We can really be radio personalities. We don't have to do nearly as much as the pioneers before us. I mean, I give them so much credit because, you might have 4 different turntables. The albums are on the wall. You got to go get the album. You got to put it on.
Spin those albums backwards until it gets to the right
and then you
spot
have to talk in between the songs. Yeah. You're the only one talking.
Yeah.
Now, there's imaging. There's little like zingers in between the songs that remind you what station you're listening to, or we'll tell our WKDQ listeners to make sure that they download the app, or visit our website, or go to Facebook or whatever. There's all these things that go in between. So, a sweep of music. I may have 10 minutes where I can, go to the bathroom or get a cup of coffee or whatever. It's not nearly as difficult as it used to be where you had to plan those long songs. It's not like that anymore. There's certain times I talk according to the computer, and there's most of the time I don't talk. So.
And we are you and I both, since you completely ruined this setup for me, you could have made some song out of it.
I really don't know of super long songs.
Super long country song. You'd have to go I
know when I used to have to. I worked at WRAY in
Oh,
Princeton.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
my very first just part-time, only on Sundays job live. And ABC News would come on, so I would have to time up at 11 o'clock to make sure that the news and so I would pick the shortest songs. And there was like because you knew you had to be right on, and so I'd be like trying to do the math and figure it out. And I think one of the George Strait songs, and I can't remember which one, but it was like 2 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yeah.
There's like a whole bunch of ones that you could fit right in and be right before it went to news and the news played no matter what. And you didn't want to cut it off in the middle of the song.
I'll narrow it down for you. It was his number one hit.
It was?
It was. I have no idea what he got 60.
Oh well, yeah. I'm sure it was one of his number one hits. Every single one that he records is number one. So,
and he's as nice as guys have seen. Hey, I did get to interview him once.
Oh, good. Yeah, I've never had that.
He's as nice as, but he was the first warm up act. That's how long ago it was. Before Amarillo Morning. But Mindy Woodward is with us today.
Hello, how's everybody?
And Mindy,
with her silky voice, I love it.
I know you do.
I know. I do voiceovers, so I think I might hire her too. I'm gonna try to steal her from you, Charlie. But
people have been trying for years.
Yeah. Mindy,
a lot of people are trying to steal you from Charlie.
It is impossible to forget the day Mindy started with me. Was September the 10th, 2001.
The day before 9/11.
Wow.
I should have known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The day before 9/11.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And
now, what did you start out in? What capacity?
Basically, just as his buyer's agent assistant. We were trying to figure out as a team what we were going to do. And Charlie had slowly been transitioning into investment properties. And so we were trying to figure all that out. So it was just like the second day, went to the post office, started hearing stuff on the news. It was like, what is going on? It was kind of weird, but.
Mm-hmm. But you brought before off air. You asked Mindy, back up a little bit about how you started in the real estate business. Period, even before you were an agent.
Oh my gosh! So we were talking about my voice, but long time ago, I worked for the answering service that answered calls for the real estate company, which was the Realty Group back then, and was there a couple weeks. Absolutely hated it. But at one point, I got a call from a lady named Marsha Trockman, and at the time, they were looking for a receptionist. So she called, and she was from the Northeast, I think. So she's like, "Hi, this is Marsha. What's your name?" And I was like, "Hi, I'm Mindy." She's like, "Oh, you're going to be hearing from me a lot."
that was Marsha.
And that was Marsha. I was like, okay. Well, apparently, after I hung up with her, she called the manager at the time, which was Cheryl, who called me within 10 minutes and said, "Hey, are you happy where you're at? Do you want to, hire in or have an interview for this receptionist position?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So I went in like the next day or the day after and interviewed, and they hired me on the spot. And I found out later that Marsha liked my voice, and she thought I'd be good at the front desk. And that was in 1998. So that's how I got started in my real estate career.
Because of your silky voice.
Because of my silky voice.
Voice like butter.
And then when I started in 99, I fortunately started quickly, did 58 deals my first year in the business,
nice.
And so I was going, as Trey Dolby talked about last week, things were getting dropped. You can't keep that many deals going. So I needed someone, hired another. Mindy and I had been talking. I hired a different, on someone else's advice, I hired a different person. I got some bad advice. I should have hired Mindy in the first place. But so after a year of almost killing her,
many times,
yeah. Mindy was at the front desk, and she would say, "Well, you can do it better than I can." Me storming by.
Yeah, and anyone that knows Charlie, like, something really has to bother him for him to get mad. Like, he very rarely gets mad. And I was sitting there at the front desk, and he is storming out the front door, just red as red can be, going, not now, not now. And she's chasing him. Come here, baby.
Oh, this one who had Mindy's job before.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I go, not now.
She's like, not now. I'm not listening. Not now. But Charlie. And I was just like, oh, this is not good. And all of a sudden you hear, slam. It's like, and then at the time, another agent, Scott Frazier, went to go outside to smoke. And I was like, Scott, don't go that way. Go around the back. There's some serious stuff getting ready to go down.
Scott was in my office today that it finally blew up between her and I. And I just took, and this is very un-me, my desk is always full of stuff. But I took my desk and just, whoom.
It was all over the floor.
It was everywhere. And I was yelling at her. And then I was just yelling. There was nobody there. You know, I mean, I look around. Scott's left. I mean, Scott's got I'm getting away.
He said, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. Scott's a great guy. He unfortunately left us too soon also. But so then I hired Mindy. And
what did you hire her to do?
I needed someone. Well, I was doing so many deals that, and I was, as Mindy said, I got the idea. I'd met a couple of investors, and it's too long a story to tell, but a couple of them were pretty big investors. In fact, one of them wound up buying 400 houses over a 7-year period from me. And so anyway, this is what I wanted to do. I was a good residential realtor. I did a lot of business, but the inspections, the financing, everything went along with it, and the emotion that is on that side of the business drove me crazy. And so I saw these guys, and they'd go in, they'd make an offer on a house, and I remember the first few times I'd call them. Well, you know, I was used to residential people, man. They get upset they don't get a house. All right, find me another one. You know, it's a business transaction,
right?
You know, and so it's pretty cool. And so anyway, Mindy was doing some paperwork, and we had an idea. I said, if we could get control, she and I were talking, I don't even remember how we come up with this, but I think between both of us, we could get control of more of the inventory on the foreclosure side. And so we come up with her starting to do more. Okay, the banks want broker's price opinions. And so I'm a very high I personality. For those that know what that means, it means, you know, this is me. I mean, I'm this person. You know, I like people. You know, somebody says squirrel, and there I go. Yeah.
At least you recognize that.
I know that about me.
Yeah.
So I would never be able to sit there and do this paperwork.
Which is funny because I'm a high I too, but I enjoy doing it.
So
you can focus.
I'm going to let Mindy take over from it. So we decide we're going to start doing broker's price opinions. So,
right. So,
was she the first member of your team?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Well, actually, the other one was, but we kind of forget that.
Oh, right. We don't count that. No.
Yeah. You know, kind of how people rewrite history. That part.
Sure. That's why I asked that. I just want to verify that. First member of your team, Mindy.
Exactly.
Right. And I mean, and so what we did is I went online and I was like, okay, what is a broker's price opinion and how do you do these things? And started signing up to different websites. And basically what it is, a bank or a company will give you a house and say, here's 123 Main Street. Go out, get some pictures of it so we know what it looks like, and give us a value of what you think it's worth. If we were to sell it today, what do you think it's worth? And just started doing it that way. And then some of those companies started giving us listings. And we kind of went from there. And, it's so funny because people ask me, like, how did you pick foreclosures? And, a lot of it, too, like Charlie was just saying, it's because it's not emotional. It's very business-minded. It's, here's the numbers. Here's what we have to have.
Because you're not dealing with the people who have lost their house.
Occasionally.
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes, but mostly you're dealing with the banks, and it is all numbers.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Most of the time, the houses are vacant. They've been sitting there for a while. The bank just wants to know what's there. So I go out, get pictures, give them a full report. This is what it is. But I like the fact that it's very cut and dry. And the people that we sell them to, for the most part, are investors. They take it or they don't. And I'm real blessed. I have a great, social network and things like that. And I'm real emotional in my other parts of my life. But at work, it can just be business, and that's what I like about it. So
and when Mindy talked about going and signing up online, there are many of the banks, like they for some reason think, well, if we put them through another company, nobody will really know we ever have foreclosures, because they don't want people to know. So there might be Acme Asset Management Company out there, and they might be handling Chase Manhattan, and Bank of America, and whoever.
Yeah, lot of the larger.
But there's hundreds of those companies out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of larger companies that use servicers, so that it kind of shells them. Different companies will use these 3 asset companies because they're so big and they have so many. That way they can kind of hide them, and it looks a little bit different.
Even bigger local banks like Fifth Third and Old National do that.
Yeah. So because of the fact that you were doing these analysis for them anyway, you then were able to acquire listings from that.
Yes. Yeah. And there's one company in particular, and I still do work for them today. They don't pay for their BPOs, but they will send you listings. They say, you do so many of these, and each company has a grading system. So you have to meet the certain percentages. Everything is time stamped, date stamped. If it says it's due in 48 hours, you got to get it in 48 hours, and they grade you. And if you don't meet the grade, then they don't send you anything, or they take you off the list completely.
But Mindy doesn't just. I mean, she could sit there and make. If you wanted to do enough of them, you could make $50,000 a year doing BPOs.
Absolutely, yes.
But you'd be insane in a pretty.
Well, you kind of have to be insane a little bit to do foreclosure.
She'd have to have her own team just for that.
I would.
The thing is, what the average BPO is around $50.
Around 50, yeah.
Yeah. So what we always tell people, they'll call me, and she hates it when they call me because they say, "Can you do this?" Sure, we can do it.
Yeah, because Charlie will make a deal, then be like, "Here's what I did."
And then you're like, okay.
And she goes, "I've got like 7 other ones that I've got to do right now." Well, they don't need it till the end of the day. So,
yeah, great, thanks, Charlie.
But anyway,
I can't imagine why you didn't get along with the first one.
No, yeah,
I should know better after all these years.
Of course, it was all her fault. No. So we've got to the point now, and Mindy still does BPOs for some of these companies, but it's basically if they don't list, the ones that list their homes, they come first. And actually, people will call sometimes that we don't know. And if Mindy doesn't want to do enough, say, "Are you going to list the house with us?" And if they say no, and some companies are just BPO companies. If they say no, we just do broker's price opinions. Well, I'm sorry, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so many companies out there. It's nice to be able to weed through them all and know, there are some I stopped working with because they don't pay, or it takes them 6 months to pay. It's like, well, I'm busy. I don't do stuff for free. Mm-hmm. So, it doesn't work like that. So I've kind of gotten it down to, these are certain companies that I will work with because they will list property. Here's a couple companies that they don't list, but it's a little extra money. So it all works itself out.
So now, Charlie, when I first met you, you were, I believe, mostly strictly residential. When you and I first met, I know that's what I talked about.
I was the team. I mean, the team is, as we've talked about, is both. I've got residential people, I've got commercial people, and I've been blessed to be able to do both.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a good understanding of both. I like, if I had my choice, if I could do any of it, I would work with investors. I would work and people say, well, you do these huge deals, that's not the fun part. The fun part is the single family investors.
So what you're talking about is residential homes, but they're investors buying these homes.
Right. But we still have a regular residential division on my team too.
Okay.
And it does quite a bit of business. But as far as we became known, and mainly because of Mindy, I think Mindy and myself, I'll give myself some credit here too, is because we became known as specialists. People call us we've never heard of, that just say, hey, I'm looking for this. I want to start buying homes.
Right.
I want to start doing whatever. This is almost a daily basis.
So someone who's interested in becoming an investor and buying residential real estate for investment purposes only will then seek you out because of the reputation that you have for what you do.
And honestly, I still want them to call, but in most cases, for somebody brand new, we're the wrong people to call. Right. Because we deal with so many large investors. Mm-hmm. And we've also always, Mindy's just like me, we've always been pretty loyal to our clients.
Mm-hmm. And we're very specialized too. Like what I started doing, and I pride myself on the fact that if it's weird or strange or no one has ever seen that before or dealt with that, I love that kind of stuff.
Give me an example.
I love putting a puzzle together. Okay, as an example, like I started taking pictures and putting stuff on different social media. Like, oh my gosh, look at this, look at that. I had a friend who had a house in Boonville that was moving. The house had mine subsidence. And they had gone through the state, done everything they could do. They said, get us out of this house. So I met with her. We went over the paperwork. She said, I watch you on Facebook. She says, you post all this stuff about creepy basements and things you see. She said, if anybody can sell my house, you can do it. And we got a full price offer in 2 days.
Great.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing that I love about the foreclosure business, especially. It's so different.
Well, one you've got now that is not a foreclosure that you can thank Miss Morgan for, because he's an avid listener.
Really?
And called because Spotsville, Kentucky.
Oh yes, that was a very interesting deal too.
This is strange. This is really strange.
So this gentleman has lived in this house for 14 years, and it's a modular on some land.
Okay.
For some reason, in the time that he's lived there, they did not have a title to the property. Not sure what happened. Paperwork got messed up. So he had to go through all these hoops. He had to call the fire marshal. They had to okay the fact that you could live there. They issued a new VIN number.
And it's very nice, by the way.
It's a very nice property. Yeah. They issue a whole new VIN number, get everything sent to Frankfurt. Frankfurt sends back the title. Now, in the middle of all this, we're under contract. So we're trying to get everything straightened out. The lender says, well, that's fine, but we need the old one. It is nowhere to be found anywhere on this property. There were, 3 people that crawled underneath it. We had the seller went under there twice. The buyer went under there twice. We had an inspector crawl under there. He says, I've looked for it everywhere. It's nowhere to be found.
And you're looking for a VIN number?
For a VIN number for this modular.
Okay.
Like mobile homes or manufactured.
Sure. Like a car.
Yeah.
Very much like that.
They have a number in there.
It's nowhere. They find a plate behind concrete blocks, so they bust this block out. It's so degraded, when they tried to write on it, it disintegrated.
So this guy's sitting there with a home. He wants to move. His wife's passed away. He wants to move, be near his kids. Can't sell his house.
Yeah, his house.
Is very nice house.
Unless he had somebody walk up to him and say, "I will pay you cash money," he cannot sell his property
because he could not get a loan Or like someone could not get a loan to buy his house without the VIN number.
Correct.
Right. Even though he has a new one
that was issued by the Capitol, right?
By the state, they need the old number because they have to run it through a system to see that it wasn't like from FEMA or there are any issues with it.
Sure.
The only thing we're holding out any hope.
Oh, so you're still working on this?
Yeah. I've kind of like let him take care of what he can because there's nothing else we can do at this point.
Sure.
His original lender was SunTrust, and if
they should have the number,
the lender who is Evansville Teacher Center, if they've got the number, if they'll send us on their letterhead, we're good with that. But in the meantime, SunTrust has got bought by BB&T, so you've got all that going on.
Yeah, so there's no telling.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy. So it is very challenging.
It is very
But I can see why it would be rewarding, like a puzzle. Like when you finish it, you're like, yes, you've really done something.
I've learned so much from that deal and all those deals that come
because they're all so unique.
Yes.
Here is something people that probably are just listening and don't know anything about the foreclosure business. Ask Mindy about cash. Quick, we're running out of time. Quickly. What's cash for keys?
Cash for keys is basically once a house has gone through foreclosure and the bank owns it, sometimes you end up where people are still living in it. So we, as representatives of the bank, will go to the property and say, hi, person, we will give you $2,500 in 30 days if you move out of the property, move everything, and it's super clean. And then you get a check. And everybody moves on and is happy. Sometimes it's smooth. Sometimes it's not. If they refuse, then we end up with the sheriff at their front door. So, that's always that's the one part of my business I can see not a fan.
Yeah.
Mindy was actually went and with the sheriff to a guy's house. We won't say where because we don't want to narrow it down, but where he didn't know he was being foreclosed on. His wife had been hiding the bills.
She had all the mail moved to a post office box and had not paid the mortgage in 18 months. So we, show up and he's like, can I help you? And the sheriff says, yeah, we're here to evict you. The house has been foreclosed.
And he has no idea.
No clue. He had no clue. Wife wasn't home. About 30 minutes later, she showed up, looked dead up at the sheriff and is like, can I help you? And he says, ma'am, I'm here for this eviction. Y'all got to go now. And I think like the husband's dad or somebody was trying to write a check to the sheriff. And he's like, sir,
it's too late
for that. You got to go.
And he had no idea. Can you imagine?
I know. Yeah.
We're talking about a bad day.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor guy had no clue.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. How did you even figure it out if she was also acting like she had no idea what's going on?
I mean,
it was just traced back through the mail that they had sent all these notices, and then they were just there in the mailbox.
And that's the thing. Like, there's always proof.
Sure. Yeah.
It gets sent to several different places.
And the bank, once it gets to a certain point, is sending registered letters too.
Yeah, they do send registered letters. So somebody would have had to sign.
Somebody would have had to sign.
Somebody knew about it.
I bet they're not married.
I bet not.
What was his?
That'd be a deal breaker,
Mindy,
wouldn't it?
What was his final words to her before you?
Way to go, Grace! I will never forget that.
That needs to be a hashtag. Hashtag way to go, Grace.
I'll never forget that as long as I live.
So Mindy, someone who is we've got to go here very shortly, but someone who is facing foreclosure, or maybe not face foreclosure, but starting to get behind on their payments, and where you can help. I know you are an expert at this. How can they get a hold of you?
Give me a phone call. Give me a ringy-ding. It's 812-483-1309. If you have questions, concerns, wonder what that weird thing I got in the mail was, just give me a call. I'll be happy to help you.
Mindy Woodward, formerly Mindy Malinsky. So those of you who have known me for years know it was Mindy Malinsky.
I think we should have her back.
Okay.
And you know why? It's because I think that in trying times for people happen a lot, depending on, whether or not they've lost their job, whether or not the company they work for has closed, and now they're like, what am I going to do? Or situations where there's dishonesty within the family or whatever.
Yeah. You haven't opened the post office box, have you?
No, but I did take notes. I think that we need to talk more about what to do to keep this from happening, or different choices that you have, and things like that. I think this could be a lot longer conversation. I really do.
Can you come back next week?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, we'll keep this up then. Okay, so I know. Leslie, have a great week.
You too.
And so for Mindy Woodward, Leslie Morgan, this is Charlie Butler. Have a great Sunday.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Show on WGBF-AM with the guy who guarantees to sell your home or he'll buy it himself, Charlie Butler. Join us every week at this time to find out how to sell your home quickly and for more money. For more information, email cbutler@kw.com or visit charliebutlerteam.com.